Hello everyone, welcome back to Golden Chips, the fully planned podcast with no issues whatsoever. And I am here with two very special guests and personal friends of mine. We have the organisers of Rewind Gaming, Poisonwasp and Bucketman. How you doing, guys?
Hello, nice to be on the show.
Yeah. How have you been? It's been ages since I talked to you. I think, like, Poison, I haven't actually talked to you since we made the group chat for this recording.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, actually. Yeah.
I think it all came about because I have Bucketman still on Twitter.
Ah, that's a good move, actually.
Hey, why not? Why not? But yeah, how have you guys been with everything that's going on and just since we last talked? Because it's been years.
Do you want to start, Poison?
Yeah, sure. No, I've been good. Yeah, just focusing on uni at the moment, really. You know, kind of living, I hate to say it, living my best life. And, you know, I'm actually on a work placement at the moment, not to be too dull,
nice.
but just so having a bit of time to, you know, earn a bit of dosh, do some coding, which is fun, you know.
Still good, still really good. Like, considering that's the one thing you want in a time like this is some form of security.
Yeah, it's been good, actually. I'm pretty happy.
What about you, Bucketman?
Yeah, I've been decent. I mean, obviously it's been a while since I was particularly involved with the Rocket League community because, I mean, Rewind Gaming stopped in like late 2019?
November 2019.
Yeah, but yeah, similar to Poison, I've been at uni. Still got my will to live just about. We're getting there.
Hanging on by a thread.
Yeah.
It's like it's just there, just about.
Yeah, it's crunch time right now on the like coursework front, but we'll make it. I believe. Like
nothing motivates a man more than the last minute. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
Creativity comes from desperation. Trust me, I know.
Oh yeah, when's this podcast getting released, Sappy? Is it tomorrow?
What? Okay.
Calling him out.
Watch me edit this till like 4 a.m.
Oh jeez.
I know that you said like Rewind ended in like November 2019, but how did it actually start? How did it come about?
Good question. I can take it first if you want, Bucket.
Sure.
So, oh god, I actually can't remember when we started. 2017, 2018?
I think the website, let me check the website because I think I put the date on there.
There we go.
It was September 2016.
There we go.
Ooh,
so basically, summer of 2016, I created a Discord server and it was called Poisonwasp Scrappy Server. And basically it was just a place to like play with a bunch of people that I met on Rocket League. And so like me and Bucket were both in it and we had some friends from Steam and stuff. And we decided to host a 2v2 Rocket League tournament on challenge.com. There's us and a friend of ours called Fusion. Shout out to Fusion, by the way. We'll probably send this to him when it goes live so he can watch it. Very cool
Big
guy.
ups.
Massive Rewind Gaming golden oldie.
What are
So we
the
held that
OGs?
tournament, and this was like at the start of Rocket League in some ways, right? It was just becoming a fledgling game.
Yeah, it was quite early.
And so, you know, we were like, oh, let's hold some events. People want to play in them. And
It's called Fusion Wasp.
Fusion Wasp. Yeah, that's right. And so we just kept running events, didn't we?
Yeah, like, well, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't that involved with the first one.
That's
it was
fair.
mostly you and Fusion, which is probably why it was called what it was. But yeah, like the first one, I think, did you put it on Reddit or somewhere? And like,
Probably, yeah.
You got a few random people coming along, and then like, it just kept growing, and then we started just running them every week.
Yeah, the first Rewind Gaming one was it the Halloween tournament?
Yeah, possibly.
October 30th, day before Halloween. We held, I think it was probably the first Rewind Gaming branded tournament. Halloween themed.
Possibly.
We basically pulled together like a bunch of Halloween themed items, and that was the prize money, and we took donations as well, I think. And I casted it by myself at like one afternoon just before Halloween, and that was great fun. Yeah, so that would be the start of Ruin Gaming, I guess, and we kept doing it weekly from then.
That sounds like so much fun, though. Honestly, like having that grassroots start. It's like, hey, let's run some doubles. It'll be fun. And then suddenly, just people are interested. Okay. And then obviously you transition to becoming Rewind Gaming, and you set up this all branding and everything. I have to ask though, how was shoutcasting? Like, was it fun? Was it learning experience? What?
It was the first time I ever casted. And I think I probably watched about 2 hours worth of Rocket League Esports in total before then. Surprisingly tiring, actually.
Oh yeah, it takes a lot out of you.
It takes a lot out of you. You need a lot of water because your throat gets ridiculously dry. But it was an absolute blast. It was really good fun. Like, especially at that kind of level where it doesn't really matter too much about messing up. You can just kind of have a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, you can stumble through.
Got you on the stream. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I had one cast ever. I did.
Oh, yes, I remember this.
So there was back in the day. I think it got deleted for some reason, but there was a Discord server called I think VRL, and it had like kind of all the people, all the like org leaders on it and stuff. And I remember Born Wolf of Shift Pro League sent a message like, "Hey, has anyone got any casters available? We haven't got any." And no one had any. And I was like, "Oh, I'll give it a go. I'll have a try. Why not?" So I had a go, and it wasn't that great. And then a few months later, SPL stopped operating. So I think we can we all know why that was.
It was all downhill from there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
exactly. And then the fun begins.
The end of SPL.
I am instrumental to their downfall.
My bad.
Now, I gotta say, like, I always used to... I remember specifically, this was one thing that I always got knocked at, is that I'd see, like, bottles of water in frame when you have shoutcasters on screen, and it's like, oh, come on, like, they've still got their bottles of water in the shot. What's the point? It looks so professional, and then you've just got this bottle of water. And then after I did it a few times, just, like, as a joke in private games, I realized, okay, they need those bottles of water. Jeez, they need it on tap.
Yeah, exactly. They need one of those camelbacks. When you go cycling.
Oh yeah.
Those are invaluable. I actually trialed it once, but I scrapped it. Is one live like a test? No, I kid you not. A test live stream I did one time that I scrapped it because I leaned back on my chair too much. I'm way too quick to like lean back, but I had a camelback tucked in my shirt, and then the straw just came like through my headphones and then down the side to my mouth.
That'd be great.
Like I thought I was Gigabrain. I thought I was like the coolest shit. And then I leaned back and the sensation put chills down my spine. But I gotta say though, what was the one takeaway from it? Like the thing that you learned the most? Like we talked about shoutcasting, but like other things like managing as it got bigger, sort of the back end of it, or just like the branding. What was the one thing that you learned the most about when you ran?
I have a pretty easy answer for this, I think, because as it kind of grew, our staff team grew, we ended up kind of with. Well, it started out with basically just me and Poison running it, and Poison would do all the epic graphics, and I'd be like pretending to be useful and broadcasting it. And
big part.
Yeah, and basically we were pretty used to handling it all on our own, but then as the server grew and the staff team grew, it got to the point where we realized none of the staff really had anything to do because we were just doing everything. Like we had a graphics team, but Poison did all the graphics, and we did all the promo ourselves. So it was like we have these moderators and graphics people and broadcasters, but it was like we just weren't doing it. And I think it kind of ended up having a bit of a watershed moment where we were just like, we kind of need to actually give these people something to do and realize that they are actually trustworthy, because obviously they were trustworthy.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if they weren't, there wasn't at that time, there wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah.
But It was
a
just
team who wanted to do stuff, didn't we?
yeah.
And we were really excited to have them on the team, but we didn't actually give them anything to do.
You never delegated
No.
anything. Never gave them anything to do.
So yeah, definitely handing over responsibilities to different people was like a big turning point. Working out how to do it in such a way that we were still kind of, I don't know, happy with how it all worked out. But
I think in a way we were a bit guilty as well, because we felt, having done all the work for everything, we felt a bit like we were being lazy by handing other jobs to other people.
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
It is what you have to do.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel you there, because I've had like friends in the past who said like, oh, let me edit your videos for you, it'll be fun, it'll be experience for me. And it's twofold, because one, I don't know what the hell I'm doing to begin with, so how am I going to coordinate someone else to say, okay, here's the style I want it, here's how I want this to transition, etc. But like more relevant is how it's like relinquishing that control is always so difficult. Like you're so used to doing it as like a solo gig or with like this tight knit circle of like 2 or 3 people that you trust, and then suddenly handing it out to this team, it's like handing out your like giving your baby. It's like this like this is my child, protect him.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely learning experience as well, I imagine, like just through all of that.
I feel like we should also mention where the name Rewind Gaming came from.
That would be helpful.
Yes.
Do you remember, Poison?
You're gonna have to nudge my memory on this one.
Oh, okay. So
I'm an old man now, apparently.
All right. So way back in the day, this must have been like 2015, 2016.
Ooh.
We would be like, chilling with the boys. Me and Poison went to the same school, so that's how we know each other. And like, so we'd be chilling with our school friends. We had like a period of like playing lots of CS:GO.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so we'd be playing CS:GO with, I think, a music bot. I think this was Poisonwasp crappy server days. And we'd like obviously be queuing up tunes on the music bot. And one tune that I was quite into at the time, and still am because it's a banger, is Rewind by London Electricity.
Ooh, I like the inspiration.
Yeah, and in that song, there is this like the kind of there's like a kind of hook where like, I'm not gonna sing, but like you hear the word like rewind, some like at different pitches, and there's like a big kind of falsetto like rewind, and then we'd all sing along to that. It was quite and then we were like joking about going pro in CS:GO, which we weren't. We were like silver 2, but
I'm silver 2, so I'll be glass housing if I knock that.
Bro, don't you worry. You can join Rewind Gaming Esports team when it happens. But we joked about going pro in Rewind in CS:GO, and we ended up coming up with the name Rewind Gaming as a result of that song.
Nice, very nice.
Are you gonna do your singing now, Poison?
No. How about you just like chuck a link to the song in the description or something? I won't embarrass myself.
Yeah, okay, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
just dash the responsibility off. Just I've embarrassed myself enough today, and it's only been 20 minutes recording.
Yeah. We'll let Leanne Carroll, the vocalist, handle it.
Yeah. That's good.
She's a lot better than we are.
Okay, before we continue, I want to ask, Bucketman, I know you said earlier that you had like someone doing the graphics and then you'd be pretending to do the graphics. Were you ever that one kid in school? It's like when the teacher would come around in the IT class, you would just like fake waggle your fingers on the keyboard to make it look like you were working.
Oh man, I mean, to be fair, I never really did. I did like do like mock-ups of a couple of posters and things, and I designed an alternative Rewind Gaming logo, and it was not very good. But no, I left the graphics to Poison. But like, yeah, I always was a bit like, I don't know. It's like, I feel like I got a lot of credit for things, and to be honest, like, it was probably Poison that did a lot of the work early on. Like, I did do some stuff like...
You did do your fair share, though, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I did like moderation and broadcasting and stuff, but like the stuff that the org kind of needed to start with was stuff like graphics and things, and that was
Yeah.
definitely not something I really had an eye for at the time.
I had to learn Photoshop very quickly.
That's one
I
way to
still
learn it.
remember, designing the first few posters. I probably got them somewhere as well, like the old documents.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, like, renovating them every so often, just randomly deciding one weekend, like, oh, we're gonna make a new style of poster for the event.
Yeah. I mean, the original logo was just an R. Was it Paranoia?
Paranoia,
font.
yes. I'm
Oh
gonna
my
go to
God.
the Google Drive and
Oh,
see.
that's amazing. You
Yeah.
gotta send me all
I don't know if
those.
you want it. We can probably chuck you a bunch of old links and old images.
Yeah.
Oh, please do. Please do. I
I'll
want
have
to
a
see
dig
this.
after the podcast. I'll send them to you.
Yeah. And you said you learned podcast. You learned podcast. Yes.
Podcasting, yeah.
You learned. I was about to say Poisonwasp, but that's not. I was about to say either.
How does
You
one
ever
learn
learn to get
Poison
into
Wasp?
the-
It's impossible. He is a mystery.
An
Um,
enigma beyond time.
Exactly. But you said you learned Photoshop through Rewind Gaming, and like I learned web dev through Rewind Gaming because I made the website and I downloaded like this Bootstrap template, and I had no real idea what I was doing.
If I
was
change
just
these
messing
variables,
with,
something
like-
will happen.
Yeah, I was just like really just doing things all the wrong ways. But we ended up having like a pretty nice website, and it was nicer than most of the other orgs at the time, so I was quite happy with it.
It's
But like,
still our website today, isn't it?
oh yeah, we were gonna revamp it before we closed, weren't we? But yeah.
Yeah. You definitely had a foothold like in a lot of like the grassroots, like smaller level. I mean, I joined. I think it was RG Weekly 6 as a free agent, and we ended up going against grand champions in our just like our little our like rising star plat team up against grand champs.
That's how it goes, isn't it? It's a lot of
Sometimes
bit
it be like
seeding.
that. Sometimes it be
Yeah.
like that, you know.
Yeah.
Like the seed does not discriminate; it giveth and it taketh away.
Yeah.
I got to ask though, like, did you ever have any like expectation versus reality moments? Like, did you have any moments where you ran into something and thought, okay, this is not how I pictured this going?
I think I could probably just like touch on how difficult it actually is as a grassroots org to like get funding. It was very difficult at the start to fund the prize pools, and so you get in this catch-22 cycle of kind of needing prize pools to get people to play, but then needing people to play for there to be tournaments for people to want to donate to them, and like,
Yeah.
understandably, people don't part with their money very easily. And there was a service we used really right up until near the end of our term on the org, called Matcherino, which is very helpful in starting out.
Yeah.
They used to do $1 codes you could use. So you display the code on stream, and people could log into the website and use the code to add $1 to the prize pool.
Yeah, I remember that.
Our main funding source for most of the events, which was a
I have
godsend.
no idea how they made money though, because they were literally giving money away.
I think it's more of an onboarding thing. It's like you get
Yeah,
enough
but,
people
like,
heard
no
about
one-
it, and then they'll turn around later on and say, okay, I'll like this is something I support. I'll put money in, and then they take a cut. Like they have a cut of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I
'cause
mean,
they did
the
take
thing is,
up the
though,
final prize, right?
I don't think they did,
Oh,
because
wow, yeah.
I'm fairly sure the only cut that went out was to PayPal. I think. I mean,
yeah, you
the
might be
thing was,
right.
Matcherino ended up like starting to offer merch and things to try and because clearly I don't think they, people donated enough off their own backs to make up for all the codes they were giving out, so they had to like start going into merchandising and stuff. Like we, I think we were on a Discord with them, with like us and like a load of other orgs that used Matcherino, and they were all like, "Oh, guys, we now do like merchandise. Just send us your logo and we'll get it put on a T-shirt and made for you." But it was like, I mean, we have like Teespring and stuff that's just better. Like, sorry guys, but we don't really have a use for it.
Yeah, that was an interesting time actually, because it was like we weren't sure whether we were going to be able to continue funding stuff, and obviously Maturino had realised it wasn't really a very viable scheme to keep doing the codes and things. And it was a bit of a scramble to try and come up with other ways to provide value, I would say. That was an interesting time, yeah.
Yeah, especially like you say in the grassroots level, you can't exactly secure funding from things like a sponsor or anything, because you haven't got that, like, as a brand, you haven't got that same gravity that like the bigger orgs do that come on those kinds of sponsors. So you're really at the mercy of whoever's like playing or watching. And I can imagine that can be a little bit scary.
Yeah, and I mean, like, as well, like, we ran, what was it, like 50, 60 weeklies?
Well, I'm just gonna try and have a look actually. Yeah,
and
I'm
like,
trying to type very quietly on my keyboard so it doesn't get picked up by the
Mechanical keyboard, rise up.
No, it's just like a little membrane thing, but I just type so loudly. I just like smash the keys.
I bought Poison in my car for Christmas once because it was that loud, and I wanted it away from his keyboard and in his face.
Drove around to my house and came in while I was in the middle of like a Rocket League game. That was great, yeah. Got a video of that somewhere actually, I think.
Yeah, I think I vlogged it. It's the one and only vlog I've ever done.
Content never stops.
Yeah, exactly.
RG behind the scenes. You should have done that. Make like a Patreon and just like behind the scenes content. Come on.
No one would have wanted to watch that, Sappy, apart from maybe you.
At least you got one growth. 100% more than last month.
Right. Let's see. So RG weeklies. Smash GG's searching is a little bit tricky. We did it 76 weeklies. And they were going strong all the way through. We had like 100 attendees in our 76th weekly.
Yeah, and we
That's
had
ridiculous.
Jeez, man.
we had a couple of tournaments on the side as well. Like, we were doing 2 tournaments a week for a while.
Oh well, that's a good point. Yeah, because we used to do 1v1, 2v2, and 3v3 every single week.
Yeah, I remember there was a time that you were running loads of tournaments in parallel.
Really?
Yeah, we were really burning the candle on like every single end. Yeah, so that was fun. I remember it being ridiculously busy. 2018 and 2017 was kind of our busy period where it was like every single week we were doing stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did it ever like stress you guys out, Major? Because I know you started with the 2v2s, expanded to more or less the whole matchup bracket, and then you sort of slimmed it. I think you slimmed it back down at some point. Did it ever like overly stress you guys out? Did you ever hit like a point where it was like your scope creep had got the better of you?
Oh yeah, like we were in the height of Rewind Gaming at the start of A levels at school.
Ooh.
So suffice to say, I can't speak for Bucket, but personally I probably could have balanced it all out a little bit better. I did focus quite hard on Rewind Gaming. So, that has its upsides and its downsides. It's been helpful. It's surprisingly helpful actually for placements. I think companies like to see that, the entrepreneurial spirit, but probably could have spent a bit more time revising.
Yeah, to be fair. I remember RLCS in London was like, it was a weekend, and on the Monday I had my A-level computer science exam.
Remember that.
So and we both did CS, so I think my parents only let me go on like the Friday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was 3-day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just so bad though, because like I was sat at home watching it, and like all the like, this is Rocket League, and it was such a crazy event.
Moment.
And my seat was there, but it was empty.
No.
No.
You made it onto stream a few times though, because didn't you bring an actual bucket with you to wear?
Yeah, I had a bucket on my head.
Oh my god.
That's my Twitter profile photo, I think.
Yeah, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Banging profile.
That's how you cemented yourself as an icon that day.
Yeah, it was tough getting that bucket through security. I had to explain to them, like, I had to explain to this like big old buff security dude that I was called Bucketman. And I was like this like specky teen with like my bucket in my shoulder bag, and I was like, oh no, look, it's just a bucket. Don't worry.
I am.
Yeah, my online name is Bucketman. Don't worry. And like, meanwhile, everyone else I'd come with was like on the other side of the like security thing, pissing themselves laughing. And he had to like go and get the manager over or something. Oh, it was God. And I got the bucket in, and I got that profile photo, so I'm happy.
So that's how you know an icon is made. Is like it wasn't the Crappy server, it wasn't Fusion Wasp, it wasn't Rewind Gaming, it wasn't RG Weeklies. It was wearing a bucket on your head to RLCS London.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then people could identify me, you know.
Our dreams are made.
Yeah.
I think I know you touched on before how placements really like the RG and the initiative that it had. Like careers opportunities, that's definitely like a massive deal. Especially like esports is an industry in itself, but even outside of that, seeing like the self-driven like big projects like that, organizational skills, I mean, it's a big deal making an org like that.
Yeah, I don't think we really realised that at the time, did we?
No, it was just like a fun thing
We
we
were
did.
kind of,
when we got over to
enjoying
school.
ourselves running tournaments, but actually, yeah, it's surprisingly, looked up to, I think, by a lot of people. Yeah.
Because it takes a lot out of someone to run it.
It was kind of crazy as well when like we started getting somewhat big as well, and like, we were able to do things like say that we were in charge of Europe's biggest Rocket League organizer.
Yeah.
Europe's biggest, like Europe only Rocket League organizer, because I'm pretty sure PRL or Rival, as they're called these days, were still kind of.
Yeah, I think that was multi-region.
Beating us. Yeah, but they were NA mostly with EU on the side.
Yeah, whereas you guys were like focused on specifically EU.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah, sounds amazing though. Like an amazing experience. I mean, looking back behind you, do you regret anything about it, or?
I don't think so.
No, not particularly.
There's nothing I don't look back and think about like I wish I'd done it differently. I think we did really go with the flow of what needed to be done, I would say.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't really regret stopping either. Like, not that I hated doing, I'd have loved to continue, but it wasn't really the time for it, for us, or really for the scene, because the scene was struggling.
Yeah, Grassroots is really falling apart.
Yeah.
We can probably touch on that in a bit more detail.
Do you want to touch on that now? It's like what actually happened with the Grassroots scene and why you guys sort of
we can
disbanded.
pop back what you were saying, Bucket, afterwards if you want.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, like I don't know exactly when it was, but the Grassroots communities, the tournament organizations, did kind of begin to realize that it was becoming increasingly hard to continue doing events because there wasn't adequate support from Psyonix.
It was shortly after they got acquired, wasn't it?
It might have, yeah, when
By
Epic
Games.
acquired them. And there was this kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other debate, because like on the one hand, Psyonix was saying like community orgs shouldn't have to be reliant on funding from Psyonix, which is, that's fair enough. I think it shouldn't be Psyonix.
It's like at a certain level, yeah, but yeah, you can't expect them to fund every single Grassroots org out there.
Yeah.
At the same time.
But then at the same time, like, there wasn't even any support in kind of just promoting events on Twitter or something, which probably could have been done. They could have done a kind of a spotlight on a community org or retweeting events and stuff, because there are people who want to play in the events. And there are Rocket League people who probably haven't ever heard of any of the tournament organizers before. And one tweet on twitter.com/Rocket League could just open up the floodgates for an org and, be ridiculously helpful.
I mean, to be fair, I think stuff like the Renegade Cup did help with that a bit.
That's true.
And that had like the right motivations behind it, but I'm pretty sure that was before they got acquired, and after that it just kind of went a bit dry.
Yeah, that was like 2018, right? Winter of 2018.
Yeah.
Pretty big cup.
Yeah, that was around
We
the
were
time
both
with the
just
cups.
starting at uni, I remember.
Yes.
We offloaded, delegated a lot of the work to our staff team instead, I think.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in lectures, talking to our graphic designer about the logo ideas, and in like a conversation with Skylar from Psionics. He was what was he working as then? The esports community manager or something. He'd been brought in.
Yeah, something like that.
He was we really like Skylar. Very helpful guy. Really, really good for the scene. Gave me a great recommendation on LinkedIn as well.
I was going to say that.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. What were we talking about? Community logs.
You just went off on one about Skylar, man. Maybe you should pursue him a little bit.
Yeah. No, so a lot of the orgs weren't happy with it, and they couldn't get funding, and lots of things were shut down because of it, to my knowledge.
Plus, I think this was also fairly shortly after they'd made. Oh no, that wasn't that long after they made it, but they made the like community regulations.
Yeah.
About like you can't, you have to hit us up if you have an event with a certain prize pool. You can't run an event sponsored by certain companies, and that was a big one actually because we actually were contacted by or we got in contact with a large company that wanted to sponsor us that wasn't Psionics, which was a really big deal. But they're an alcohol company, so we contacted Psionics like, hey, can we do this? And they were like, no, sorry. So it was like, it kind of felt like, to us at least, we were kind of at Psionics' mercy because they were the only people giving us money because we couldn't get really money from anywhere else without their approval.
Yeah. So I wasn't the only one who noticed that. I noticed that around the time of the Epic acquisition, because there was some grassroots support to an extent. Like you said, the Renegade Cup, and they had a push, not at the same level, but they had a push for all of the collegiate cups as well, at least in NA. But I don't know, it's like they got acquired and then everything just sort of went. That was it. Nothing. Didn't hear anything apart from RLCS.
Yeah, I don't know. I think at that point I kind of began to drop off the Rocket League scene. I did lose interest kind of around 2019, I think, just because it was kind of a bit clear that, I don't know, it didn't really feel like a priority anymore to support the grassroots stuff, and I also had my own other priorities. I wouldn't be surprised if kind of Epic acquired Psionics, and with that, a big nest egg of money that can be used for the events and stuff, so you don't have to worry about the massively. Please don't send the lawyers after me. But because they did RCS and RCSX as well later on. But
I think one of the reasons they gave for it was that they kind of had to put a lot of work into kind of restructuring to match the Epic,
Epic's kind of model.
They needed to. Yeah, exactly. But we just didn't hear anything during that period.
So if they're sort of following on from that, if let's say someone listening to this wants to start an org tomorrow, what would be the one thing that you tell them to watch out for? Be that a warning, or why they should or shouldn't do a specific thing? Is there anything that you'd stands out that you would say, okay, here's what you should or shouldn't do if you want to start an org, let's say tomorrow?
Interesting. I would probably just say you can't half-ass it. If you want to do it and you want to be a successful community org, you need to dive in head first. Have a plan of action, understand or learn quickly how to use social media to promote yourself. And unfortunately, in some ways, I think you probably also do need to find some way of funding the events. because I think despite a lot of people in the Rocket League scene saying they're very happy to playing the community organized events and stuff, you know, we definitely saw an increase in participants when we had bigger prize pools.
Yeah.
So you do the maths.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
There's a draw.
helpful having money on the line. But yeah, the primary thing is just you can't half-ass it. You've got to go head first, and you've got to really dedicate a lot of time at the start to kind of building a community.
I'd have said as well that, like, I think one of the reasons we rose like we did was just because of the weeklies. Like, you know, 76 weeks or whatever, that's like a year and a half of doing it every week. And, you know, what it did for us was it gave us quite a solid core community of just people who came back every week and who might mention it to people. And, you know, if they made a friend online, then they might get that friend to play in the tournament with them. Like, that community, the power of that community is really not to be underestimated. And like, it also was just really nice because we you know, we had names coming back, and like we started to get bigger people taking notice. Like, I remember we had Ike Wolf a couple of times, and he was a big deal at the time in the exclusives.
Yeah.
And he obviously bossed it and won every single one he took part in, or whatever. And then and there was people like you, Sappy, like was it A Unlucky the team was called?
Yeah, A Unlucky. It was me, Iceborg, and Derp Daddy. And I remember specifically, like after that weekly, we decided, you want to stick together as a team? Yeah. So we literally, I think it was, I wasn't sure if it was Borg or Derp, but they made a logo, and it was literally like a default font on like block blue with a Google Hangouts meh emoji. And that was our brand. And it stuck. And I actually, until very recently, I had it on my YouTube banner on my main channel as like a tribute to my past life.
Oh, because were you guys all free agents then?
I was a free agent, and I think Derp and Iceborg were looking for a third. Like, they entered, but they didn't have a team. So it's like, hey, here you go, random guy from England.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the story of that.
I mean, and like, not to be rude, you guys were not that good. Like, you were never particularly competing in the final. But like, yeah, I think I said to you, I think when you DM'd me on Discord, didn't you? Like, the last conversation we'd had was like me telling you how awesome A Unlucky are, just because like you guys were not necessarily the most technically skilled people in the tournament, but you were always among the top in terms of just like pure like sportsmanship.
I think that's the main thing with Grassroots, though, is that the sense of community and like sportsmanship is always going to be there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But like you get people that would see, 20 quid on that tournament, let's go, let's win 20 quid, we're gonna go win 20 quid, make loads of money, hell yeah. And they were there for the 20 quid
and nothing else.
Yeah, and so they got so salty when they lost, and they'd be like in this Twitch chat, and like, whereas you guys, you know, you'd make it like a couple of rounds, you'd be like just chilling out, you say like, you know, good game after every round, and then, you know, you'd wish your opponents good luck at the end of it. And I think that's just really important. It's just like, not only you know, it almost like sets a good example for other teams, because like, you know, you shouldn't feel exploited after you've lost to someone. You know, they shouldn't make you feel exploited. And, you know, if you've beaten someone, then, you know, they shouldn't be like trying to get at you either. Like,
yeah,
we're at the end of the day, it's 20 quid, like, you know,
that's like a Domino's.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think I remember I specifically remember making a joke at a DM with the other two. It's like, right, if we win this, the first thing I'm buying is a Tesco meal deal. That's the way it is.
Price for money.
Oh yeah. Lofty goals.
Yeah. Shoot for the stars. Yeah, I think well, I definitely agree with you there. It's like the two hardest hurdles, at least in my mind, both from, as I say, like being on both sides of it. Like I've had friends who wanted to start orgs and did, and then realizing, okay, I've half-assed it and it died in 2 weeks. What do I do? Surprised Pikachu meme. Insert here. But like the two hardest parts are like one, branding, like getting a name for yourself, getting yourself out there, and two, funding, because like you said, one of the biggest draws is like a prize pool, like having an incentive to actually come and participate beyond just, oh, it's friendlies for the fun of it, do it for the game.
Yeah, and I think that's potentially why you need to work at it for as long as, you know, for a long time, because like kind of you need to what was really important for real gaming was just the sense of community, and like everyone knew each other, and like people would be active in the Discord chat outside of tournament times and stuff, like, so, you know, let's say we've got Team A and Team B, they're fairly similarly matched, then Team A would be like, oh, let's beat Team B this week, and Team B would be like, oh, let's beat Team A this week, and you know, stuff like that, like,
yeah,
just,
yeah, you want friendly rivalry.
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, because like, just to kind of touch on it, like the Rewind Gaming server is still active to this day. You know, we still have regulars talking in it. You know, so we obviously did manage to build that community of people.
yeah.
And they're
Oh wow.
orgs out there.
Sorry, Poison, you broke up a bit there.
Yeah,
So that's my bad internet. Let's edit that out in post.
That's why Poison didn't broadcast for us.
Yeah. No, I was just saying there are lots of orgs out there who I don't think have the same kind of active channels once the actual org stops running events.
Yeah.
So you can kind of prioritize on, like, you either have really quick growth, you know,
Yeah.
where you suddenly get lots of events and lots of people taking part, but the problem with that is it's a really quick drop off as well. Or you can really kind of focus on the quality of your community, and then it's much longer lasting, and I would probably argue a bit more rewarding. You know, it's still really nice to keep in touch with everyone who's still active in the Discord and stuff.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think as well, like, one of the things we aimed for was, like, yes, while we didn't have that much money to put to prize pools and stuff, we could at least do the best with what we had in terms of making the tournament good quality, and like,
Yeah.
you know, doing things like having a really nice stream and things like that.
We
Like,
took a lot of pride into making sure everything was run perfectly, didn't we?
yeah, exactly.
Like
Making
down
sure
to
the
even down to the
moderators-
moderation, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So that was really nice. You know, you want to put all the effort into that, and then
Yeah.
you know, it comes through when people take part and when people watch the streams. You know,
Yeah.
you can be a high quality organization, and the event can be high quality without it having a lot of money. And
Exactly.
the other way around, you could pump in £5,000 but have a really terrible stream and awful moderation. It doesn't work.
And it falls apart instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the one thing that separated from everything else. Is like, again, flipping back to when I competed and shortly after, I think the community, like in any esports org or just anything in general, any online like presence, the community is so important. Well, for two reasons. Because one, you're always going to have like that tight-knit community, and they're always going to be your biggest cheerleaders. Like if you want to grow, that small like group of OGs or like people who are dedicated to it, they're going to be the ones who are going to say to others, it's like, oh yeah, I play with these guys, you should come along, you should check it out, or like, hey, you should watch the stream sometime, I'm playing and appreciate the support. Like things like that. And it's just having a welcoming atmosphere. Like I remember specifically after we lost, I think I lurked in the public chats on the Discord for a bit, and it wasn't like there was no toxicity whatsoever. It's like I was fully expecting to go in there and see, it's like, oh, what kind of matchup was that? These guys were terrible. They were completely out of their league. But there was none of that. It was all wholesome vibes only. To not go staple meme.
Regulars, yeah.
Yeah, it was just so community.
I think one of the, and I mean, I feel like we are kind of potentially slightly being a bit self-indulgent here.
You're allowed to be. I invited you guys on for a reason.
Oh, but what I think potentially one of the reasons why we ended up with such a good community was because the moderators would set a really good example. Like, we made sure that the moderators, like, you know, we made sure we didn't have people that were likely to get salty. Like, you know, if say one team's been trash talking another, right? You don't want some moderator to just be like, oh well, that's your fault, get out the tournament. You know, you need a moderator that turns up and goes, okay guys, what's the problem and how can I help?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, obviously that doesn't mean you shouldn't, like, if you know, if the team is being really, really abhorrent in the chat, you should still kick them out of the tournament because they're dickheads. But like, you know, a moderator that's kind of, that feels like they are on your side, I guess, if you're in the right at least. Just kind of really made sure that people realize what they got from us, and hopefully that meant that they would get they would give a similar thing back.
Yeah, just having the right team behind you, definitely.
Oh, and I think another thing I wanted to mention as well was you were saying that like the early community would like be playing in tournaments a lot, but actually I think for Rewind Gaming, for a lot of other orgs, like the early community ended up running the tournaments. Like,
yeah, you're right.
You know, particularly as we were growing with the weeklies and stuff, it was you know, it was the people that were in the server initially that were behind the tournaments, kind of bringing more people in. Like, I'm not going to start listing people because I would forget, but they know who they are. So yeah, I think it was the community that really, really killed it for us.
Killed it in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah, having that community and a team behind you, because that's the thing. Like, if you've got competitors who lift you up and you've got a team that lifts you up, it's just going to go up and up and up. Like, it's such a good thing having the right people behind you, because when you're all like, there's no infighting and you're all on the same team and pushing for the same thing. Like with Rewind, you get amazing things.
Well, we did have our fair share of infighting, I'd say, in the team, I'd say. But we always came to a resolution that I think most people were happy with. You know, majority of people.
Yeah, not to say you got
really
on
felt like
perfectly.
work.
Yeah, it never felt like work. That's a good point.
Like, one thing we always did was the moderators would always be in a group chat together, because, like, I mean, for one thing, it helps them communicate and be like, okay, Dave, you go handle that request on Smash GG, and I'll keep an eye on the Twitch chat. But also, like, you know, they're volunteering. They're here to, like, you know, they're here because they're passionate, and
they're spending their entire.
It was always really nice. Yeah.
You know.
It was always really nice to just chill with some people and, like, yeah. I feel that was a good vibe.
I think it was a good vibe. Yeah. It was nice, good times, good way to spend your evenings and kind of hang out with a bunch of people on a common goal and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's another good point.
And you get other staff members like dropping in as well.
Yeah.
Even just to chill out. Sorry, go on, Sappy.
No, I think that's another good point you really hit on there a second ago, is doing it because you want to. Right, making sure that, like you said, with not half-arsing it, putting it at least 3/4 of your arse is importantly, like, rather than, as well as not half-arsing it, one important thing is doing it because you love it, because that's what you want to do, rather than just thinking, oh, I'll make some good money running an org and having this managerial position. You've got to do it because you love it, especially like you said at Grassroots, because at Grassroots level, funding is such a hard-fought battle. Like, making sure that it's because, like, you want to do it first and foremost. That's paramount if you want it to succeed.
That has to be the main reason. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you can get away with it a little bit more, like being a bit more money focused if you're a big org, you know, kind of company level or something. But like in the very, very core Grassroots, you need to be doing it for yourself and for the sake of doing it. Yeah, definitely.
For the love of the sport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It really was for that. Like back when Rocket League Esports were first starting off, it was really cool and very exciting. And everyone was learning new techniques and everyone was improving so quickly, week after week.
What?
Aside from maybe, did I cut out?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was saying there were no stable teams, everyone kept beating each other because everyone was getting ridiculously good and the skill ceiling is so ridiculously high.
And not only the player skill ceiling as well, like the like back end skill ceiling, things like broadcasts were improving every week. I remember like way back in the day, we had like a custom overlay on our broadcast, and that was a pretty big deal. And like having like a pause screen and like a custom font in OBS.
Yeah.
And then later on it was like, we've got like a dynamic overlay that like the broadcaster doesn't have to update by opening a text box in OBS. Oh, there's a story behind that actually.
Well, now you've mentioned it, you gotta delve into it.
Do tell, yeah.
Okay. So the Colosseum, if you remember, that was our first big tournament. I think we gave out like 5,760 euros. It was an odd number because we worked it out so that everyone got kind of like a divisible by 3 number of prize points.
I was going to say that's also oddly specific.
Yeah, but can I just touch on the structure of the tournament?
Yeah, go on.
What was it? We had some round robin stuff just to get people to the finals or whatever, the qualifiers. And then we gave essentially every team that lost got some prize money as soon as they entered the final bracket. Yeah. And the amount you got, if you won a game, the amount you'd receive doubled.
Okay.
So it starts off with like, if you lost the first game of the finals, I don't know what to call it. The Colosseum was the actual name of like that stage of the event. So that you lose the first thing, you'd come home, and then like after that it was 30, and then at 60, and my mental maths is 120 and all that, yeah, that was just a format for anyone who didn't know what the Colosseum was.
But anyway, as we were in the final weeks of preparation for that, we thought, right, like we need to make this stream really good. Let's kind of create a really cool overlay and make it so that it was it can be updated from elsewhere, because we hadn't done that before, so that the broadcaster was just sat there pressing the buttons and someone else was changing all the team names and everything. So we had a couple of developers on the staff team at the time, and one of them was like, oh yeah, I can do this, and he used, I think it's Node CG. It's called, and it was made, I think, partly by people from like Games Done Quick. They use it for their streams.
That makes sense.
But I had no idea what it was or how to use it, and nor did anyone else really. So this guy was working on it, but then like it got to like a week before the tournament, or maybe even like a few days. It was sketchy, and this dude still hadn't done anything, and we were like, well, we've made all these assets on the assumption that we can actually use them. Like, what are we going to do? And so I had work experience at that time. It was in the summer, and I had quite a lot of time sat on the train, like getting to and from. So I remember being like sat on the tube thinking about like, how can we get an external place to control our overlay? We need something that someone can edit that's in the cloud, and then that we can then pull into the overlay through like an API. And I was like, Google
Eureka!
Sheets.
Eureka!
Yeah, exactly. So like I got to work and I sat there in like a little cubicle thing. I mean, it wasn't a particularly big deal kind of work experience thing. It was classic like intern coffee things.
Yeah.
But like, so I went and sat in like a corner, and just wrote a really, really dreadful little bit of JavaScript that would like go and fetch stuff from Google Sheets and then put it in this HTML overlay. And that really horrible, shaky, awful system ran the Colosseum live stream.
Oh my
Like it was a
God.
proper house of cards. And at the end of all that, we ended up with the updater script, which we've now open sourced, and people actually I think Johnny Boy still uses it for his tournament
Does
streams
he?
and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
There you
Yeah.
go. There's your tie. There's your tie. Johnny Boy uses my stuff. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly did.
Yeah.
I helped out his the guy he employs to kind of do all this stuff, like his graphics and things, because they wanted to add that to their stream, and I'd made that script a while back, and so they definitely have been using it. They definitely used it for Salt Mine 2, and then I'm fairly sure they've still been using it since then, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome. It's like a little bit of trivia.
Yeah. It's like nowhere near as pro as like a lot of the solutions people used, but like it kind of sparked quite a lot of, you know, a few other people made similar programs and things.
Mm.
So it's quite nice to kind of have a part to play in like taking the scene forward.
That's awesome. But yeah, all right. 60-second wrap up. So if I was to start an esports org, your main things are: do it for the love of it, not for the money. Get the right team behind you. Make sure you plan it out. And finally, focus on getting a community. Would you agree with those, or have you got any ones to add?
Yeah, those sound good to me, I think. Yeah.
I
The
think the
three
point
pillars.
about delegating is also worth pointing out, because
Yeah.
it's something I've seen other people make mistakes with. You know, it's kind of hard to take that step to trust other people with your work.
Mm.
You've got to get
but
comfortable letting other people do stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So
It saves you time.
get the right team behind you and make sure they actually do something.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll expand that one. We'll add like a sub point to Pillar 2.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Hey, massive thanks to you guys for coming on tonight. I know that Bucket was a bit pressed for time, so massive,
Oh.
massive thanks to you guys for coming on. Do you have any closing
it's-
words, any shout outs like that?
I guess a massive shout out to everyone who was on the Rewind Gaming staff team. You know, anyone who's still around in the scene as well. Any players who played in a lot of our events, you know. Again, I probably could name a few, but I'd miss out more than I'd remember, so I'm not going to try. Yeah, everyone who was a part of Rewind Gaming, I think.
Oh. Yeah, I would have said the same. Like, yeah, it was awesome, and you know, I feel like it was one of those things that was just, it was something that improved everyone that was involved in a way. Like, everyone that did it enjoyed doing it, and you know, at the end of the day, I feel like that's a nice thing to have done.
Yeah. Also, I mean, you had fun with it. That's the main thing. At the end of the day, you're happy you did
exactly.
it and you had fun. But that's going to do it for this episode, everyone.
Oh.
I know, so sad to see you go. But it's been lovely having you once again, and we'll see everyone in a couple weeks. Ta-ta for now.